I recording later than what I was thinking I should do. Uh, but for you, it may be morning when you listen, so it doesn't matter that I recording late. And it was because I had my school today, this evening, and my teacher, he liked to talk a little longer than normally. I understand this about the Jewish history in Sweden, and he was talking about from 1948 till 2013, I think, and that is not interesting for me. So I didn't pay really attention to what he was saying. I heard what he's saying, and I took it into my brain what was important to know. But those years, it's where my mother have got a home. She was born 1910 and my father 98. And so they were young people when it was the Second World War. And my mother, she loved to talk about the past. So I come to know very much about what's happened in Sweden in the Second World War. And she loved the royals and talking about them, so I know about this with the Nazi and the royal Swedish royal family, how they were going together in a very strange way, because one king was married to a German queen, and then and another was married to a England queen. So it doesn't put. It was not going together really, and I was talking to my mother about it. Why didn't you see anything about what's going on in Europe? And Denmark and Germany is not so far away. And the newspaper, they must have write about it. But what my mother say was that they hide. The truth never come really, so they could read about it. And I forgive them for not understand what's going on, because they were young. They had started their life together, so there was no interest what's going on around them. And now today I know they were Jewish, so they couldn't come so close to the truth, because then they got the eyes of themselves. So they have to hold their mouth closed. And there was many Jewish that come into Sweden, and I have talking about the Jewish ancestors I have. They come earlier, 100 years earlier than the Second World War. So they were already in Sweden, but in that way also the Nazi doesn't want to buy things from them. So they have their problems also. You can't say thinking about today that they could have done this and this and this. It's not like that. When you are in need on your own, you can't be so tough and tell the Nazi to go back home to Germany like that. My mother told me about that they come in the coast, on the coast of Sweden, and then they was allowed to take the train. They have their own train with them on the ferries, and they come and they could drive the train the whole way up to the north of Norway, where they have this water that never be ice on that water. It never froze, that water. It's a special water that they need to have for their nuclear bombs, and for the bombs they needed that water, heavy water. So the Swedish government, together with the royals, say it's okay to travel through Sweden, but not stop and walk out from the train. Those highest in the top of the Nazi, they could go out in the street, and because they meet the royals, Swedish royals, and some was of this higher, the nobles family, so they were related to the Swedish royals, and so that was what's going on in the class. And then I saw that I have forgotten, because I have been sick 1 week, and I've forgotten that the school asked us if we wanted to get more knowledge, get more to know the Jewish history. So today I sign up for the a base to know the Jewish traditions, knowing what people need to know of Jewish when they should maybe be there together with Jewish people for 1 year like that. And then it was that is class number 2 and 3. But I have to start first with class 1 to come up to get more knowledge in the 3rd class. And then I sign up to know the law, the Jewish law. And I don't expect me to remember all the whole law, but come to know what it is about. I think it is about 362 or 234, 35. Yeah, it's lots of common law for the Jewish people. And it should be very interesting to know it. And those 2 teachers, they speak English, so they are not Swedish. And the one is in Stockholm, and that is good for me to get contact with the Jewish people here in Sweden. And the other teacher, she was lived in Denmark, and but she speak English for us. I understand Danish, but it's many people that don't know Danish, and so and I speak English, as you hear. You hear it. You hear it. I think I have a little fever. That's why I'm so silly. And so I have signed up for that, and then I will see what days it is, so it doesn't come together in the same day. So I don't, I can't be in the classroom for many hours. Today it was very much work for the brain, so I my teacher wanted to teach us from 6 o'clock until about 9:30. So it was, what is it? It's 3.5 hours, but we have a breaks, three breaks in it, but that was too much for my brain. So I say wrong things there, but it was okay. Um, and then when I should start to recording this podcast and tell you what the answer was from the other podcast, that I make a short cut of it to this morning, and I wanted to tell you what I have understood after. It come very quick. I understood it immediately, but I couldn't start over and recording. So I was thinking I have to tell you later at the day, but not so this late, but now it's late. So um, it was on my way. I have just started to do recording. Then my daughter called me, and she always are on Facebook, and she use messenger and camera so I can see her. So we were talking 1 hour like that. So it was going very late. But now I have come into what I should talk to you about. It was very strange that I didn't understood, because when I just have ended, and I think I upload the episode also, and then I was thinking, Leonard, that man, the spirit man, he say that, no, I forget what he was saying, but he was talking about Leonard. And then I say, it can be Leonard or else it can be Lennart. And then God in heaven, they told me that Leonard and Lennart are the same thing. It's the same name. I was in the spirit, so I couldn't hold back for myself, because I was not in myself. I was connected with the spirit that was here. And it take a little while until I go out from the spirit way to think and talk. So the spirit say to me, that's the same. Leonard and Lennart is the same name. And then I have to go and look it up. And I wrote you can do that also. I wrote on the search. I wrote Leonard, and then I wrote Leonard, and I got a hit immediately, and where it says that Leonard, it's an old German surname for a man. It's an old Leonardo. You know that there is famous people from way back that have the name Leonardo da Vinci, like that. And Leonardo da Vinci, I will say, if I find something on Leonardo da Vinci, if he had Swedish or German parents. I don't know about him, but I'd be curious about it now. And Leonard, that is not so much today as it was when I was teenager. That was more Leonard. But it was old Norse name. It was like a Viking shore name. No, Viking first name. Did I say Leonard was shore name? It's a first name. And it's a Viking. It's much on me now. So if it's coming like it's do now, you maybe heard it, that it's switching. And what they are saying, that was interesting, what they told me now. Because I have been thinking about it, but I am not thinking about it today. But they tell me to tell you this, that you that have listened on and follow me from the start, or almost like the start. Do you remember that I was sitting and recording, and then I look out, I think it was in springtime, and I look out, and suddenly it looked like seagulls. It come lots of seagulls. The whole sky was full of seagulls. And they were coming here to this house. And I knew that looked like seagulls, but it's angels that is coming here. That was the time when those come here, those spirits that took place in this home. I had connection with spirit before, and they were standing in the portal, door opening, and they were talking to me in the air. But those that looked like it was seagulls, they come to live in this home together with me, and they are from heaven. They are not coming like, I have to drink a little. They come, they didn't come like those angels, normally angels. They come to take place here. So I tell the spirits here that is here, they should teach us now what kind of spirits and angels and other the other things that is here that I can see some of them, but I can't see all of them. It's different. They are different. So I have asked for them to explain for us. Now they're saying Zephyr. That's one. And those Zephyr is like to find a diamond. They are one of the highest up, and that is that you should be so thankful that they want to come here and talk to us. And they are saying here that the sapphire is those that singing. You know, I have told you about this in another episode. They are not singing with the mouth because they have telepathy. They are talking. So they don't use their mouth. They talking with their brain to us, with the energy they sending to us, and we receive it if we are prepared to do that and ready to do it. They can talk to us in telepathy, and they have tried to talk to me many times in many years. It was already, I think it was the first time they really talk, so I understood they talk. It was when I come up to heaven, and I was frightened to leave United States to fly back to Sweden, because when I fly to United States, the airplane have lost their engine, and the airplane was dropped very quick, but it doesn't slide through the sky. It dropped like an elevator. So you know how it is when they start to crash with the airplane going down. Maybe not those small airplanes, but those that carry many people. They lost the air very fast going down, and everyone was scared, and it was not like the movies either, because everyone was quiet. No one was screaming. And that was the first time I really was praying to God to hold up the airplane for us. So when I was in United States and I had got the airplane ticket, and before I got the airplane ticket, I say that to God, that I can't go home, I can't fly home, because then they will not fail. They maybe will try again, and now, because I have been in the United States and doing this walk to learn about you and heaven, and when I have done that and went back home, we dropped down and crashed the airplane. so I don't want to go back home. I knew I had to fly back to Sweden because I was very sick. My pancreas have started to make me very sick, so I needed to go home to to uh, to see what's wrong. And I was laying 1 week in the hospital in Sweden because I didn't have any blood in me, and that caused this with the pancreas to be so bad. And so I was up to heaven, and I standing in a line and in heaven, and it was a woman that was standing behind the desk. I know I have said that, but told you this before, but I tell for those that have not heard it. And I was thinking, how can she carry those big wings far, far behind her? Was it wings laying on the floor, maybe 5-10 meters behind her, was it? Because she was a small woman, and everything was so big for her. And she had a book open, and there was a woman standing before me in the line to go into heaven. And this woman, she refused to go in. And she crying and say, my children needs me. I can't go in. I need to go back to earth and be with my children, she say, crying. But she ran into the heaven. She had to. She was forced into heaven. And she should be thankful to be in heaven, even if it's only in the marrow she is. And then it was my turn. And when this woman before me say this about her children, I was okay. I look around and standing there and look at my back, and then I saw white wings started to come out from my back. So I was pleased to come into heaven. But when the woman say this about her children, I say, in that time I thought I needed to go back to earth. Because I say that, my daughter, she need me. And my daughter was sick and I needed to go home and take care of her. And the angels say, I will give you a little more time on earth and tell me how many years do you want to have? And this is important to know. So I say, for me was it, can I get 10 years more? I say to her. I was humble. I didn't want to say many years. 10 years was very much to say for me. And I feel guilty that I say this. But I was thinking my daughter is old enough to not have her mother. So I asked that, and the archangel was laughing at me, and she said to me, I gave you 20 more, she say. So I was wondering, did she say that I was okay with 10, or did she say that I should live 30 years and then come up to heaven? And it is 30 years, and And this was about 2004. So that means maybe 34, year 34. At least it's not just now. Maybe. I don't know. I don't take anything for granted. And then I was going home to Sweden then. And this is what I have been thinking about, what I was saying, that I was 8 years old when God came and took me. And when I was 8 years old, my father had lots of books behind his office desk. And it was a very, very big office desk. And when my mother was cleaning up the floor behind there, I was sitting and playing with those things. That it was a shelf in the back of the office desk, and that was always close to the wall, so you couldn't see there was books. So that it was my first time to see sexual books, but there was also but the Bible, and it was religious books, but it was also sexual books. But I was looking in one book special, and it was a book that God gave me. He said that I should open up that book. So I opened up the book when I was 8 years old. And when I look into the book, there was picture of known people. I was only 8, so I didn't know them, but I understood it was known people in those books, in that book, thick book. And that voice that say I should open up the book, and he say that my name should be in that book one day. And today I see it as he was talking about the book of life, that my name should be in the book of life. In that way, how much I have done for God, and on my own, and no one have helped me. And so that's what God said from the beginning. And I think it was like my little world behind the office desk. And I think my mother, when I go behind that office desk and sit there, and I often did that I go into my own bubble, like I was in a bubble, and no one could touch me, and I wasn't good. It was a good time, the best time for me, when I sit there in the bubble. And my mother was drinking coffee very much and smoked cigarettes. So I suppose that she let me sit there for a long time. And that is where God came and took me when I was 8 years old. And it is about this with the spirit time, the time heaven have. And in that way, heaven have the time is not in in a hierarchy or an order to do. The time can come in the past, and the time can come in the future. The time can come now. It have nothing with us, with the earthly order of time. And so I was a little in the church when my father was a little sober, so he could go to the church with me. So I was from 8 years old to 16 years old. But it was only for children. We were in one room and was playing with dolls like that. It was not much teaching. And when I was 16 years old, I left, like I say, yesterday. And then in this telepathy, now what is called, when I was to this man and I was going up to heaven, it started. It didn't start when I was an adult. It was when I was 8 years old. But I had to walk for a long time to come to that time when it was time for me to move on to the next step. And it took me 32 years. But when I come into the cave, it was me that was 8 years old that met myself when I was 48. It was me in two person. So it was me that was 8 years old, and I come with those higher priests in white clothes and white beard and white hair. Yeah, I come with them as a child and met myself as 48 years old. And then I took myself into that cave, and Dan, that hypnosis me, he asked if I was frightened. And then I answer him as that little girl, 8 years old. And I say, I am just a little girl. I have no fear. I am curious what will happen. So I went with those higher priests into like a cave. And then when I come into the throne room, those men bow down their forehead into the floor and bow down for God that sit on a very, very high throne of gold. Everything was gold. And I standing there in front of God, but on the floor. And those other was bowing down for God. So I was on my own with God. And I say, here I am. And God told me to come up to him at the throne. And I told God that I can't do it because it was very high up and it was nothing to hold in. It was dangerous to go up there. So God understood it. So suddenly it come a carpet, a red carpet, like flowing down, like it. I don't know if it was carpet or if it was a flood of blood that was running down from his throne until it reached my feet. And then he didn't say that I should go up again because he understood that I couldn't. So he bowed down, and God was so big, long, big. He was like 10 men together. So big was he. So when he bowed down from the throne, he reached me on the floor. But he had this pole, golden, these things that a king have. And he granted me to be his knight, God's knight, God's servant, to work with him, not work with men in the world, but work with God. So he did. And then Dan said, are you finished now? And I say to him as a girl, I say, now I'm growing up, now I'm grown up. So then I was 48 years old. That's what happened. And it's very strange for us to understand what took place. But God is not time. God is not what we are here on earth. God is something else. God is something else. God is something different from man here on earth. So you should not make God smaller by thinking that he could walk around here on earth and be God and then also be killed. No, Jesus is not God, and Muhammad is not God, and all those other that people think they are God, they have been God, but they have died, and they have left the earth. So, and God have never left the earth. God have never died. So that's what it is. I have a little flu left, but tomorrow I think I'm okay. So this is what I wanted to tell you. So thank you everyone that have listened to this episode. God bless you.